This is Evie, and Evie is a newer dog. She's only been in the house for a couple months. This is like the coldest day of the year, and we're outside because her problem is she doesn't like to always come inside. So she likes to just kind of run around and play. And the problem is that she's convinced her guardians, because she's so crafty, to get one of her guardians to wake up at 2 in the morning and let her out in case she has to potty, but she doesn't have to potty, she just wants to play. And so she's basically learned that she can get to play, and then she refuses to come inside. And so I've had this happen with multiple people, and they've gone through all sorts of different ways to figure out how to get the dog to come. Now, for a lot of us, the only time we ask our dog to come is the end of fun. Here, we're going to change her word to here. So if you've been saying come and your dog doesn't come, you might want to think about changing it to here or a different command word that doesn't have the baggage of the way you said it before. Because if you said come, 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 and the dog doesn't come, the dog's like, come is optional. So what we want to do is we want to use some passive training, which I talked about off camera. Passive training means every time your dog comes to you on its own without an invitation, here. You just pet her and say here. Now you saw how she darted around. She thought I was going to try to snatch her. The last thing you want to do is try to snatch your dog, because she basically wants me to chase her. Now if your dog is doing this sort of thing, let it go out and run around before you actually do this exercise. So what you would do is you would have some high value training treats. I have the chicken liver that I like to use, the Tricky Trainers. So what you want to do is let your dog go out and let it run around and have its fun first to burn that energy. And then what I would do, and I'm not going to walk up and down this because I'll probably fall, it's a little bit slick, it's a ramp. But what I would do is I would come outside with some treats, and I walk down here, and she's running around the yard, and I just basically wait. Here. Then I'd walk back up and I would go inside. So basically I'm going to walk halfway down into the halfway point of the yard. I'm going to have high value training treats, but I'm not asking the dog to come. I just happen to be waiting there and I have some really high value treats. And when the dog comes to me, I give it the treat and I say the word here, which is the new command word. So first, let's say I'm going all the way to here. Let's say this is 25 feet in the yard. And I just wait for her to come. Here. Did you get it? Here's another one. Here. And then I walk back in the house. Next time I might only walk to this position, then to this position. And each time I walk out slightly less. But I'm not calling the dog, because if I call the dog, that's what the dog wants, is I want your attention, I want you to chase me. She gave me a sit that time. So this is something you do when the problem is if you do this at 2 in the morning, you're tired, you're cranky, you want to go inside. You don't want to do what this. Right now, this is the afternoon, well, evening. And so she's got plenty of energy, but she's more inclined to want to come because it's not that time and we're not on our schedule saying, come on, I got to get back to sleep because I got to get up and work for work the next day. So each time we're a little bit further out, now I'm going to make a kissing sound to get her to come, but normally you wouldn't do that. Here. And eventually she's coming closer and closer and closer. Now when she actually gets to where the house is, and we're gonna turn, I'm gonna stand right over there if I can. I'm not gonna open the door because we have 2 other dogs here and then I'll let them out. But when I get to this point, this is where the dog is really not gonna wanna go inside, because then when I can close the door, then they can't come back out and have fun yelling at the squirrel. So then when we have a nicer day, what I would do is I'd have the other 2 dogs away, come out here, and there's no snow out here, and you just open the door, throw the treat right inside, let her go get it, and come up with a word that means to go inside, like casa. And then, but leave the door open. Then she comes right back out. And then throw another treat and call it yard or fresco to mean outside, or whatever the word is that means yard. Come up with a word different than yard. All you want to do is rep going in and out, like 10, 15 times without closing the door. And then the 15th time when you throw it, she goes in the door, you close the door. So it didn't automatically mean that we were going to go outside. And again, when we go out here, when I was far away from the camera, I'm not calling her. I have a tasty treat. And when she comes to me, I give her the treat for coming to me, and then I go back in the house and wait a couple minutes and try it again. So eventually we're just teaching her, just come to the human and get a treat, and then you can continue playing. It's a great deal. And then eventually we come here and I get like 15 treats going in and out, and then you never know when's the case that you're gonna actually close the door. And so you make it a very positive experience. Now, the last couple things you don't want to do is, and I know it's hard, but every time, Evie, I snatch at her, she's going to be trained to move away. And snatching at a dog is one of the ways that we tell, as Evie, one of the ways that we tell the dog, I'm not confident in my leadership. There you go. We're almost done. So we're telling the dog, I'm not confident in my leadership or my authority, so I have to trick you or snatch you to get you to come instead of just actually conditioning the dog through positive reinforcement. Edie. Here. So change the command word, practice going halfway out in your yard, and if your dog doesn't come right away, don't show any interest. Wear a jacket, have your gloves on, and all the rest of that fun stuff. It's this time of the year, and just act uninterested. The more you call the dog, the more you're putting the power in the dog's position. Here. And remember, passive training. Every time your dog comes to you on its own, pet it and say the word here, and it doesn't represent the end of fun, you gradually get yourself further and further here, then you start throwing the treats in and out, and eventually she just goes, go inside means I'm gonna get probably 1 to 10 or 15 treats, and eventually you close the door whenever you're ready. Evie. That's a cute look. Let's show everybody at home. Come here, Evie. This is Evie with a snow nose, and these are tips and tricks you can use if your dog doesn't like to come in when it's outside in the backyard.